All right, let's talk about propellant for the magazines. So you can see there's regular green gas that you can use. You can buy it from Airsoft stores. There's a propane adapter which you can put on top of the Coleman stove bottles, and they also sell top gas, which is basically that computer keyboard dust gas. I'll tell you, nobody I know uses this. I've never used this. People who have said they use it, they've used it for Tokyo Maruis or very low power because it doesn't seem to propel the BB that much. So I'm not going to even show you. The propane adapters do come with a little adapter that you knock the cap off of this and put it on. So if you're going to use top gas, that's what it is. If you heard the term top gas, that's what it is. Magazines are filled by a little valve, and you basically have to turn these upside down. And if you can hear, this magazine doesn't make any noise, right? Whereas, so you're going to have to hold it for 10 or 13, 14, 15 seconds to make sure that you're getting enough of the propellant inside the magazine. Now if you hear a Tokyo Marui magazine, you can hear it, and it'll discharge some of the vapor until you start seeing some of the liquid come out of the valve, just like you would if you're filling a propane tank. So some magazines will make noise and it'll actually release some of the vapor until some of the liquid starts coming out of the valve, and then others you won't hear anything. You're just going to have to hold it down. You'll hear it kind of like shh, but it won't be releasing like the, say, this is the KWA mag, this is a Tokyo Marui mag, depending on whether they have some rubber seals inside here. So how the difference between green gas and propane is, from everything I've read, is they're all propane. But this already has like no smell like the rotten eggs, and it also has the silicone oil which blows through the airsoft, keeping it lubricated. When you're using these will come with a silicone, a bottle of silicone oil. So every 6 mags or so, you're supposed to take this cap off, put a couple drops of oil in, and then then disperses that oil inside the magazine, which can get blown through the pistol. So that's how you fill a magazine. That's what to listen for and how long to hold it. To load magazines, you gotta buy a BB loader. It's almost crazy not to, because they have adapters in which you can just push this thing in and dump BBs in there. And when you're loading 30 BBs, to hand fill these in is just crazy. This one comes with an adapter that fits right over the Tokyo Marui. For example, like KWA ones. I kind of learned the art of it. It's got a little nozzle, and you just meet it with this, and then you just drive some BBs in that way. It seems really, you're going to drop a few BBs on the ground, nothing is going to happen. But it's going to save your day, because you'll be able to load several magazines. Put these in your pocket, let them warm up, and get them going. And remember, we talked about the performance of a magazine. Is I use a back heating pad that I bought like at a Walgreens or something, and I just plug it in and I set these magazines on that heating pad. So I'm shooting and this magazine's getting warm, and as it gets warm, gives that opportunity for that the gas to expand further. Obviously you don't want to get them hot, you don't want to put it next to an ignition source or anything like that. You're dealing with propane, be smart about it, but you want to get these room temperature. One of the ways you can do that is stick them in your pocket, put them on a heat pad. A friend of mine said he uses one of those microwave warming things where he warms it up, brings it out in his garage, and it's good for like a half an hour or so to keep his magazines warm. So, okay, the next thing about associated with the magazines is how many BBs am I going to be able to shoot with 1 can of green gas? And you can expect for every 1 can of green gas, depending on the outside temperature and the conditions you're shooting in, you should be getting 1,000 to 1,300 BBs per can of green gas. That's been my experience. For a Coleman propane bottle, you're going to get more than that. It's going to be a little bit cheaper, but you also have to keep a well-ventilated area and not be too offended by the smell of propane. While you're training, use black BBs or a gray or light-colored BB that is a dark shade. So this is a Bio BB. Gray. I haven't found the black one. I think they're in, some makers may have them, but I haven't seen them locally. These are kind of like an off-white, grayish brown. So the darker the BB, as it flies, because it's only going 250 to 300 feet per second, as it's flying out of the barrel, I don't want my eyes getting pulled from what I'm looking at, which should be the front sight. And if I have a white BB, I just end up watching that BB track out of my thing, and it just distracts me. Use a black BB and you'll have less opportunity to be distracted by what you're trying to train in your discipline, which is looking at the sight or the target or whatever it is, the type of shooting you're using, whether you're using an open pistol or an IM-sighted pistol. Black BBs, 0.20 gram is about all you'll need inside of a garage shooting area. 6 millimeter. You don't need it heavier than 0.20 or a 0.25, and because that's going to suit your needs. The heavier the BB is for more like the rifles and shooting outside. That's going to be about as perfect as what. Okay, so if you're thinking of getting into airsoft, you're going to quickly discover that there's a whole slew of manufacturers and types of guns to purchase for airsoft training. There is quite a bit of difference between them. I will tell you that my favorite and arguably the best out-of-the-box pistol that has been recommended to me, that I've read on blogs, that I've read on forums, that I've looked overseas, that I've looked at custom builds, has always been the Tokyo Marui 5.1 High Kappa. And that's not to be confused with the Tech 5.1, which is a much lower quality pistol, but a decent pistol anyway. So you can see there's a lot of different varieties, different makers. You can see you don't see these too much anymore, the Glocks, because Glock doesn't want airsoft, I guess. But KWA's got a really nice line of all metal 1911 style pistols. They're Mark III, which you can see on the website, has front checkering, ambidextrous safety. So you can see these are I really like these for the 1911. Here's an example of what an M&P, but this is a blowback, a non-blowback. So it's a CO2 style, and the slide doesn't reciprocate. So I just want you to know that that's a cheap way to get into the game. It's only like $60 or something like that. KWA does make some 2011 style frames. They're coming out with a 5-inch later this year, and this does have a metal slide. That's probably my second favorite pistol, just because it's here in the USA and already comes with the metal slide. Here's an example of that Tech, and this is probably my least favorite pistol, but the pistol does work. It's not going to just fly apart in your hand, but it's obviously cheaper. The trigger's a lot heavier than, say, a Tokyo Marui or KWA. And it's our own worst enemy, and everything I've ever read about it is it's just made out of cheap pot metal, so it wears faster. Its own enemy is all the weight from this really heavy metal slide. And because you got to remember, you want real weight, right? But you want something that's similar but yet works, because if it doesn't work, like say this may be a few ounces lighter, but it cycles a lot faster because the slide's a lot lighter. So that means it's going to be more efficient with the gas it uses. It's going to be less abusive to the actual unit as a whole, and it'll just wear better if it's a higher quality. Now, Tokyo Maruis, you can see I stippled. This is my, put a fiber optic front. This is my play from my limited to match my SDI. Really, this is a Tokyo Marui. I probably got 15,000 BBs through this one, and you know, I've never broken an ABS slide yet, but everybody says that's the risk of those. And anybody who's building any high quality open airsoft is always starting with the Tokyo Marui as a base and maybe adding the metal slide. But the key is with somebody thinking about open airsoft, the key is don't do anything inside the Tokyo Marui. It's great out of the box. It's going to function. It's going to work just fine. Add the cosmetic features that you're going to need, i.e. a mag well, some form of slide racker, a mount, and an optic. Once you do that, you're getting pretty close to exactly how it may feel for your real open gun. But yet, you're not having to tune it like you would after balancing the springs, chaining pistons, changing hop up, all that stuff. Keep it very simple. I would start with spending the money on a KWA or a Tokyo Marui 5.1. And if you really just are looking for a bargain way to get in and not worried about quality, the Tech seem to work fine. A lot of people use them, but I don't think they've ever bought a Tokyo Marui, because if they did, they probably wouldn't buy the But it's still not going to fall apart in your hand. And for Glocks, the people that were making them were KSC, which were overseas, but you can't really find any U.S. people. KWA for the Mark Series 1911s are really good.